HDR in Lies of P is really bad, and believe me, I tried my very best to get a good result with all the available options in the game and with all the settings on my TVs, but in some cases, and in this specific case, I think it's better to give up and play in SDR. Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel, and for all the new members or for everybody who is new actually to this channel, please do me a big favor and share, like and subscribe. You would do me a big favor. Thank you very much. And now let's take a closer look on Lies of P and why I do not recommend to play this game in HDR. And first things first, this game does not support the HDR system level calibration on the PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, but to be very honest, I was not expecting this. But the problem what we have actually, we have no proper HDR settings in the game. All what we have is actually two settings, brightness and contrast, and there is no settings about maximum peak brightness, and this is already the first big problem, because the maximum peak brightness what I was able to measure in this game is around 600 candela, and that's actually a little bit too low. Even for the LGZX it's too low, and you can clearly see that there is something missing in terms of specular highlights in this game. And now let's take a closer look on HDR and SDR, and I made a little bit of a side-by-side comparison to actually see it a little bit better what I'm talking about. And keep in mind, this recording right now was made with the HDR and SDR factory settings in the game. That means I haven't changed settings in the game at all. So let me stop the video here, and I can clearly see that HDR in this case looks really washed out. The only thing what I can see actually is that the specular highlight here, the butterfly, looks better than HDR. So this is something, of course, what is just normal in the game actually here. The specular highlights, even the maximum peak brightness is actually limited to around 600 nits, 600 candela. They are looking better than SDR. I mean, of course, because SDR usually is limited around 200 candela in terms of, let's call them specular highlights in SDR. That means, of course, HDR specular highlights are looking better, but that's the only thing in this scene. And when we actually moving forward, then it gets even worse, because the HDR picture just looks washed out compared to SDR. And again, the only thing what I really like is actually the specular highlights in HDR, but this is the only thing. The overall impression in HDR right now with the HDR factory settings in the game is really, really bad. But of course, I tried my very best and I used the options what we have in the game to adjust the HDR picture, and I tried to match it in terms of the black level or shadow details to the SDR picture. And this is the best what I can do. I came actually very close to SDR, or in comparison to the SDR picture, the HDR picture doesn't look too bad anymore, but still you can see I have the feeling there's just a lot of information actually missing or details missing in the background. And in terms of HDR black level rays, we still have some sort of HDR black level rays. And the problem is, in this game, we can't use the fine-tuned dark area settings. And why we can't use the fine-tuned dark area settings in this game is very simple to explain, because in order to use the FTDA settings, you must enable VRR. But the problem is, as soon you do this, you have a lot of VRR flickering in this game, which is absolutely, I don't want to play like this. Let's say like this. It's really worse. Okay, so that's why you can't use the VRR option in this game in combination with FTDA. So it just doesn't work. So that means you have black level rays the whole time when you use HDR. And again, this is the best what I was able to come up with in terms of HDR settings. And all what I have done is actually I decreased the brightness settings slightly and I increased the contrast settings. So I don't want to give any recommendations at this stage, because it's just, I don't like it. Let's say like this. I don't like HDR in this game. SDR is just much better. And I'm not a fan of SDR at all, to be very honest, because I do like the HDR specular highlights in this game, but the overall picture quality in HDR is just not worth to change any settings or to play around with the settings. Just play in SDR and enjoy the game. So, and in regards of the game, I'm not quite sure if I like it or not. I mean, don't get me wrong, in terms of graphic, in terms of gameplay, it's nothing outstanding at the moment. Yeah, it's just a normal game, but most likely not a game where I would like to pay $70 or $80. Anyway, if there is any update in terms of the HDR, yeah, broken HDR in this game, you will see or hear it on this channel. So make sure you like, share and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I see you guys next time. Bye.